Imagine standing at the threshold of an ancient Chinese city as dusk settles. Lanterns flicker, and a soft wind threads through narrow streets. The air seems to hold something other than chill. A presence, a pattern, a direction. For centuries, people believed those unseen forces could be read, shaped, and even steered away. This is Feng Shui, in its original elemental form. Not merely an aesthetic of furniture and flowing curtains, but an architecture of protection against malicious spirits. Central to that defensive art is a single, uncanny concept: the Guimen, the ghost gate. Guimen, literally ghost gate or demon gate, names a direction rather than a door. In traditional Chinese cosmology, directions carry moral and metaphysical weight. The northeast quadrant is associated with yin energy, the shadowy counterpart to yang's brightness. Yin gathers where light fades, and where thresholds open to other realms. In practical terms, the Guimen is the corridor where wandering spirits prefer to travel, and it is the compass point builders have learned to respect, divert, and sometimes outright deceive. Ancient cities were often planned as much to channel human life as to manage unseen forces. Walls, gates, and streets were arranged so that the Guimen would meet dead ends, courtyards, or shrines, rather than palaces and temples. City planners positioned defensive towers and watchhouses to break sightlines and redirect foot traffic. A winding approach, mirrors, a sudden narrow alley — these weren't merely for tactical defense or climate control, they were devices in a metaphysical toolkit. By interrupting a spirit's path, they believed, communities could protect their living inhabitants from misfortune, sickness, and unexplained mischief. Palaces and imperial compounds took this practice to a grander scale. The Forbidden City in Beijing, for instance, is a model of layered thresholds, gates and axial symmetry designed to protect the emperor, literally the center of the realm, from both political and spiritual threats. Ceremonial halls face auspicious directions, secondary buildings form buffers, and certain corners were deliberately left open or cluttered to complicate a spirit's route. Even the placement of gardens, ponds, and rockeries could be read as spiritual countermeasures. Water to slow and disperse energy, stones to anchor and confuse it. These ideas did not vanish with the end of dynasties. When Hong Kong rose into a metropolis of steel and glass, its builders confronted the same metaphysical geography. Skyscrapers, banks, and shopping centers inherited centuries of feng shui thinking. In practice, that meant more than choosing auspicious dates. Architects, developers, and even government planners paid attention to skyline silhouettes, the direction buildings faced, and the lines of sight between towers. Narrow passageways, pointed structures, and the orientation of entrances were all scrutinized for their potential to funnel or deflect yin energy. Modern examples are striking. Developers have added features like rounded corners, water features, or protruding balconies specifically to soften an incoming line of sight toward a building deemed vulnerable. Some complexes incorporate screened plazas, decorative screens, or sculptural elements positioned to open or close a visual and spiritual axis. Even the controversial feng shui complaints lodged against certain Hong Kong towers reflect a cultural continuity. Communities insist that built form can invite or repel misfortune. Skeptics may dismiss these practices as superstition. Yet the persistence of Guimen-aware design reveals something deeper than literal belief in ghosts. It speaks to a human impulse to make the environment legible and controllable, to map safety and danger onto the landscape. Whether or not one accepts spirits as real, the strategies developed to manage them have produced urban forms that shape movement, sightlines, and social interaction in very tangible ways. In the end, Guimen is a reminder that architecture is never only about shelter. It is about orientation, to the sun, to wind, to neighbors, and to unseen forces that cultures imagine. The buildings and cities that survive are those that answer these questions, not just with stone and steel, but with stories and gestures that protect, persuade, and put the living at ease.